Once you can comfortably ride a bike, the bunny hop is the most important trick you can learn. However, your first bunny hop isn't going to look like this. It will probably be a lot closer to this. In this how-to, I'll cover the basics of the bunny hop, the steps to learn them in, troubleshooting, and ways to get higher and higher. You don't need to know any tricks to learn the bunny hop, however, I would recommend learning to loop out of a manual first. If you don't know how, no worries, it will be covered shortly. When starting out, think of the bunny hop as a two-step trick. First, your weight is transferred backwards and your front wheel comes up. Once your front wheel is up, you use your legs to jump. All of the force of the jump goes through your pedals and into the back wheel. Once your back wheel is up, that is a bunny hop. We will talk about progression in a bit, but when starting out, there is no need to scoop your feet. I want to emphasize that this is about building a foundation that can be added onto. Let's jump into the different steps to learn the bunny hop, starting with body position. Start by holding onto your grip so that your hands are about 45 degrees when compared to the ground. Hand position is all preference, but this is a good starting point. You want to avoid having your hands straight down, as this will limit your ability to get the front wheel up when leaning back. BMX bikes are squirrely. I prefer to have my weight balanced relatively even between my hands and feet to stay in control. To get your front wheel up, start by moving your weight forward with your arms and legs bent. Next, shift your weight back by pushing your bars until your arms are fully extended. Once your arms are fully extended, your arms will pull on your bars and your momentum will cause the front wheels to come up. The pushing motion may feel similar to a push-up as part of your pushing force will be transferred into the ground. You should not be pushing up and down though. Your force should be at an angle. Your legs may extend a small bit during this, but they should still be bent and ready to jump. Practice this motion over and over until you're able to consistently get the front wheel up about 6 inches. You don't need to be bringing your bars to your hips at this point, just focus on getting the front wheel up a little bit with straight arms and bent legs. It is critical that your arms stay straight and your legs stay bent. Before we get too crazy, you should learn how to loop out of a manual. A manual is when you balance on your back tire. We're not balancing for the bunny hop, but there is a chance that you get your front up too high and you need to know how to get off your bike safely. To practice looping out of a manual, you don't need to be leaning back as far as you can or passing your balance point. You can start by jumping off the back while both tires are still on the ground. After getting comfortable with that, work up to doing this while your front wheel is off the ground. Follow the same steps as before, keep your arms straight and legs bent. As soon as your front wheel is up, jump off the back. You can't jump if your legs are straight, so make sure they are bent. Once you get more and more vertical, you won't be jumping off as much as you are kicking the bike out from under yourself. When learning, I recommend not having pegs on so you don't have to worry about hitting your feet or your legs. Once you can loop out comfortably, you're ready for the actual hop. So, you're able to get in a position with your front wheel in the air. You are leaning back and your arms are pulling on the bars. If you would let go with your hands, the bike would fly away from you and you would fall backwards. Your legs are bent and you are ready to jump. All you have left to do is to jump by putting force into your pedals and extending your legs. Start by doing little manuals and adding a tiny hop from your legs. Since you're leaning back, jumping does two things. It brings your front wheel up more, and it also pops you up and off the back wheel. You can see that as I start to extend my legs, the front wheel comes up more and the bars come closer to my legs. This happens naturally as you jump. Once the back wheel is off the ground, you can pull your arms forward to level out the bike. If you don't do this, you will probably land back wheel heavy. Do these little hops over and over until you can jump a few inches while landing relatively level. If you can bunny hop even a few inches while keeping your arms straight and weight back, you can quickly build off this to get higher and higher, which I cover in a little bit. If you are still having trouble though, I will do my best to help fix some of the more common issues I see while learning these smaller hops. By far and away, the biggest issue I see is that people bend their arms to get their front wheel up. This happens when you try to cheat and get your front wheel up by bending your arms instead of using your legs. Once you make the initial push off the front, your arms should be locked for the remainder of your jump. If you are bending your arms to get the front wheel up, focus more on leaning back. For some of the lighter people out there with bigger bikes, this is especially true. Really throw your weight back to allow the front to come up. Another big mistake I see with people trying to get their front wheel up is that people try to pick the wheel straight up and down. You should be pushing and pulling at an angle. I think that going straight up and down happens when you're too afraid to lean back and loop out. Spending 15 minutes practicing looping out will be a huge benefit to you if this is the case. It is such an important skill to have and it will save you a lot of pain. If you're trying to get the back wheel up and it feels like it weighs 1,000,000 pounds, you are likely not jumping and you are just trying to scoop the back wheel up, or your legs are straight. You will not be able to calf curl your bike up while your entire body weight is on it. You have to get your weight off the back wheel by actually extending your legs and jumping. Also, remember to extend your legs for your jump after your front wheel is up. Again, try to have a consistent hop with decent form before trying to get higher. You might be saying to yourself at this point that this tutorial is ass because you can't get higher than 5 inches, which is true, but you can push each step further and further to get higher and higher. To get your front wheel higher, push off the front harder. This will allow you to jump sooner. As you get more comfortable, your timing will get better. The push to get your front wheel up and the jumping steps will start to blend together and you will be able to put more and more power into the jump. Once you start to hit your bars and your thighs, you can break the golden rule and start bending your arms to pull your bars off your lap. At the same time, you can begin bending your legs to your hips and knees, which will bring the back end up. For the tucking motion, you shouldn't need to focus too much on scooping. Your natural foot position is usually plenty to get the back wheel up. Work on increasing the speed and force in each step and you will be well on your way to having a nice bunny hop. While bunny hops are a basic trick, everyone learns them at their own pace with their own style. The only way to get better at any trick is to practice though, so don't expect results without putting in the work. If I had to summarize this entire video in 3 sentences, it would be: start with your legs and arms bent, push backwards until your arms are straight, and jump.